Your Miami Marlins are currently sitting at second place in the NL East, and they have a new home run celebration. What is the backstory on all of that? Going to dig into that all on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This, of course, is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, on Twitter at Miami_Marlins_UK. If you are listening to the pod, hit subscribe. It is your team every day. It's free and available everywhere. There is a YouTube channel. Head on over there too. We are trending towards 1 million subscribers. We're some way off at the moment, but that is the target. Nevertheless, it's Thursday's episode of Locked On Marlins, guys, and I'm delighted to welcome into the house, back onto the show, the Loud Marlins fan is here. Chase, how we doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. I got my dog on my lap. You'll see her move a little bit if you're watching the video. So relaxed, celebrating 2 wins in a row.
There we go.
Let's get it.
It's a win streak, baby. It's a win streak. Let's go. Love it, mate. 2 wins on the spin. I mean, let's start there. I mean, the Marlins get it done in UK friendly on a Wednesday. We should have been playing today, but it's been a rain out. I'm not sure it is raining in New York, but anyway. They get it done at the back end of the series. Sandy and Jesus Luzardo really showing up, mate. Some big performances from them boys.
You have your best pitchers. You were able to trade away Pablo, who had a great game on his own, which was like the best outcome in yesterday's game. You didn't want to see him get beat up, but you didn't want to see him beat on us. So that was a great outcome for that. Jesus Luzardo, man, when we traded for him, Starling Marte, that was a big trade that changed this franchise as far as offensively and defensively around a little bit. We were worried about Luzardo in, I think, August 1st or July 31st, whenever that was made. The whole thing was he was really struggling with Oakland. But then you say, hey, Mel Stoudemire is going to have this young arm. And you said it. All the staff said it. Give Mel some time with Luzardo. He showed spots of it last year, including his first start of the year versus the Angels, and his last start of the year. I forget who was against, but he showed glimmers of this great arm that he can be, minus that injury. And he's come out 2-0, man, or 1-0. Left yesterday's game, giving up only 1 run. Dude's on fire. He's from South Florida. He's going to be the face of this franchise. And they have him till at least 2027. You got to think if they're going to extend him, it's not going to happen until maybe 2025. So you have 2 years of cheap Luzardo. Woot!
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that fits the Marlins profile, no doubt. They've got Sandy locked up, Luzardo locked up, Trevor Rogers, Edward Cabrera. Like, these guys are, on very, they're on league minimum predominantly, other than Sandy. I think Luzardo might be year 1 of ARB, I think, if I recall correctly. But yeah, nevertheless, the Marlins rotation. Just talking about the other 2 guys, though, mate, as we kind of look ahead to the Mets series, we're going to get Trevor, Edward Cabrera. Well, Edward Cabrera is going to be going game 1. Trevor, then the 5th starter spot's coming up. So what we've seen is the big 2 have really stepped up. I think for this team to be successful, they need the big next 2 to step up as well, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, we all said if the team performs like we think they can, this pitching staff will be one of the best. You have Johnny Cueto go down. He's the guy you brought in to solidify that 5th spot. But are we worried? No, because you got Braxton Garrett right there ready to take over that spot. And then you got arms behind him who might be ready down in the minors.
Yeah.
And some teams would be in much worse position. If you look at the Tigers last year, the Twins last year, a couple of their pitchers go down. You're worried. I'm not.
Talk to me about Cueto, though. We only get 1 inning out of him to start his Marlins career. It's, it seems a bit of a strange and curious situation where he was hurt. He kind of held it back. He went to the WBC, got himself hurt again, but he's gone out and he's got the bicep issue. How concerned are we that Cueto is going to be a bit more longer term here in 2023?
It is a concern. I'm more concerned that he didn't say something. You put your team right away in a bad jam when you're pitching. He's a guy who's been around for a while. He has the respect of all his peers. If he's not telling you he's injured, he's not coming out of the game. So we're not going to start. And I don't think that's great showmanship on his part for if he was at all feeling any bit injured to come out and put his team in that spot. But it's one loss. Take it for what it is. When he comes back, our team will watch him closer now that we know him a little bit better, or I hope that staff knows him a little bit better. They won't let him put himself in that position again.
Yeah, I must say as well, just off the back of the Cueto injury, Lindgren coming in, he was called up to the big league club. Didn't expect to be throwing any pitches. Like Skip basically said to him, listen, I'm calling you up here. You're going to be with the club, and I hope I don't ever see you pitch. And effectively, he's there, second inning. He's straight in there and has to go 5 innings, mate, which, listen, he would have wanted it to be fully clean ball. But overall, 5 innings in that spot starter role effectively, gave up a few hits, but a big, big performance from him, I think.
Dude just got out of the plane. He's all excited to be here, the bus, however he got down here. He's all excited. And he's been told, you're not going to play, you're here for an extra arm. We have to send Brax down to get some work. He comes up 1 inning in. Oh, crap. You get that call in the bullpen. Lindgren, you're up.
Let's go.
Then he's excited because, he's happy to make his debut. His wife was on TV. I think his dad was on TV. He was happy to be there. They're all happy for him. He gets thrown to the wolves, man. I'm not talking 1 to 2 wolves. Dude got thrown into a fire of wolves. And it's just insane. But he gave you – and that shows greatness too. He may have not had the game he wanted. He threw 5 innings. I think he was up to like 78 pitches around there when he came out. That's something that you don't get from every team, or you don't have those kind of guys. Good for him. I hope he makes it back at some point and has the opportunity to really show what he has.
Yeah, no doubt. You know how the Marlins rewarded that, though, right? Where they ended up DFAing him the next day.
5 minutes after the game. He was here for 5 minutes. You're not going to play. Wait, you're in the game. 5 minutes later, goodbye. Peace.
I know. And it's just the way the baseball and the way roster management works, right? They're not expecting maybe Lindgren to be picked up, but, the way things are going this year, we may see him again. It may be where, he's DFA'd, he clears waivers, goes back down to AAA, and then at some point we need him again. Just on that point, what I've been thinking about, clearly with Cueto going down, and let's say that it's a month, let's say it's 6 weeks, and so there's going to be a prolonged period where the 5th starter will be probably Braxton Garrett. I mean, that's the most obvious situation, is Braxton Garrett slides into the 5th starter role. Let's say that then another is hurt, or Braxton, whoever it might be, where do they turn to next at that point? One thing that's been in my mind, and this is a little bit left field, we haven't spoken about this within, I guess, the Marlins fan base as such, but let's not forget that AJ Puk was going to slide back into the rotation for the A's this year. That was what was expected, was Puk was going back into the rotation, having been really successful in the pen. I do wonder if in a pinch here, the Marlins maybe think, do we need Puk into the rotation? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that one?
I like him in the spot that he's in, even though he gave up some runs. I think they have enough depth where they don't have to move him back in. I don't think that was the game plan to even consider him a starter. You have Daniel Castano, who could give you a good 4 to 6 innings. Depending, do look great in spring. You have Smeltzer down in AAA now. He's more than capable of coming up and giving you a long outing. If you're talking about 4 or 5 starts that you need somebody, if another guy goes down, they have the arms to not have to pull someone out of the bullpen. But Puk can speak his mind and maybe force his way in there. We don't know. They haven't mentioned it.
It hasn't been mentioned. And so I'm just going to throw it out there that the plan in Oakland was to be back in the rotation. He's always been a starter. He was effective as a reliever because they were trying to take some innings out of his arm because of the injury concerns he's had. But the stuff plays. So what I'm thinking there is, do the Marlins maybe, if they need to, think, let's get that stuff playing in the rotation rather than the 9th? However, what's your take been on Puk in the 9th, mate? We've seen him twice. He's given up a run in both, though. But overall, like, I feel a lot more comfortable with Puck in the ninth than I was with any of the guys they tried early on in 2022.
The best pitchers give up runs, but they don't lose games. And he has not lost us a game. Gave up. You're going to get smacked around. The butterflies are coming in. You're anxious. You may throw one bad pitch. Starters get to do it all the time. They just have the longevity of a game, so it doesn't get noticed, right?
Yeah.
He's given up 2 runs. He's pitched 2 innings. He has 1 save and the other a hold because it wasn't considered a save yesterday. So I'd like him to get out of it without anything. But from what we've seen in the past with our closers, we're being spoiled right now by what we have.
No doubt. What we've also been spoiled by, and we're going to talk about this after the ad, and actually, no, plural, the ads. There's a double ad extravaganza after the segment 1. But what we need to talk about is the home that has emerged. And I think there's some background and some history that we need to get into on that one. But before we do that, guys, let's start with a new ad. And yes, sir, if you are watching, you will see there are new graphics as well. And it's our good friends over at Locked On, partnering up with eBay and eBay Motors. So let me get the script going on here. That's what I need. It's too many ads. But for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part fits. Every part you need fits right. Say that fast. Anyway, the first time around, just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit. I love this idea. Or your money back. Yes, sir. If it doesn't fit, money back. Can't say fairer than that. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Glorious. Absolutely love that from eBay Motors. What an ad. Yes, sir. I tip my cap to eBay. There's a second ad, as I mentioned. So let me get that bad boy queued up. And it's our good friends, of course, over at Built Bar. Oh, boy. Of course, it had to be our good friends over at Built. And listen, it's been the season. We've been voting for all of our favorite bars or puffs. I get listeners messaging me saying, Pete, I'm so glad you told me about these puffs or these brownies or these whatever it might be. My favorite still is the coconut puff, by the way. But we built March Madness throughout March and I guess into April. So let's continue that rolling. You can head over to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorite bar or puff. And to vote, when you vote in there, you'll be entered into a draw where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. That sounds sensational. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. And you got to try those Builts because they're the best protein bar out there. Seriously, so amazing you won't think they're good for you. And what makes them good for you? Well, for starters, they're high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, 100% real chocolate. So head on over to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March and I guess into April too. So hop in, support your pick. Woo! Yes, sir.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fire from the advertisers here. Love to see it. Anyway, let's get back to the Marlins and let's talk about the fire that is the offense, baby. I didn't think I'd be saying that, and I'm glad to be saying it. Jorge Soler yesterday with a multi-home run game. Another bomb from Jorge Soler. Another set of bombs. He's up to 3 for the year, mate. And what did we see, though, in after his first home run was the shades on and the home run chain has emerged. They haven't had it on display at all thus far, but all of a sudden, in Game 7 of the season, the home run chain emerges. And I think, Chase, that you have a story to share on this one. So please let us know, how was How has this come to be?
Well, in some cases, you get rewarded for wearing swag. In this case, my swag ended up in the Marlins dugout for them to use for the home run celebration, and that is the home run chain. I got to give credit to the guy, so hopefully you don't mind me plugging the maker of it. His name is Christian Mora. He can be found on Instagram at ChristianM_customs. He has been making those chains for other teams, including more or less football teams, that big fan base of the Miami Dolphins, who are always swagged out the and whatnot. Made chains for them in the Dolphins gear. And then he got in touch with me somehow through somebody, knew I'm a big fan, and asked me if I'd wear one. Who's going to say no? He didn't tell me that I'd have to pay for it, but I ended up paying for it, right? So he makes me the chain. I got it roughly, I want to say last June or July. Wore it to some games. Everybody's stopping and taking pictures with it because it's really nice. I mean, he does a great job on it, as you saw. It's not cheap. It's a carved piece of wood, hand laminated, hand painted to perfection. Even has sparkles in it in certain light. So it really is nice. If you look at my pictures on social media and the videos from Chicago last year on FS1, I was in that chain. So how did the Marlins get it, which is what you asked? So the Marlins, during the Fan Fest, they were taking it off me in some of the pictures. They were enjoying it. And Peyton Burdick asked me, hey, can I keep this? Now, I didn't think twice of giving it away because of how much it cost me. But, I feel bad. I'm a good person. I felt bad afterwards. I'm like, what if I gave the chain to him? Maybe he would like it, like forever. Think of loud Marlins fan. So I wrote it on Instagram, and I basically said, look, I could probably get you one. If you're interested, I'll see if the maker would do it. And he said, yeah, I'd love it. Got in touch with Christian. He had some deaths in his family and didn't have the time to make it. So I gave mine up. Wow. And I gave it to them on March 11th. I couldn't actually see Peyton Burdick. He got to the game a little bit I didn't get there late, but too late to fraternize with them players. So I actually saw the ball boy run through, and I stopped him. I was like, hey, you got to get this to Peyton Burdick. And he ended up getting it to Burdick. I confirmed it on Instagram through message. And I actually said to Peyton, hey, do you think you can use this for the home run celebrations? I thought he was going to make the team the way he was playing in early. So do you think you guys will use this in home run celebrations? And he really told me no. I don't think we can. I'll ask, I'll throw it around or whatnot. Well, to my surprise, I'm watching the game yesterday, and there's my chain. So that is how that chain got to the Marlins. I'm more than happy that a gift from their loudest fan that has my vibes in it, it's very prideful to know that they're celebrating with something that I gave them.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks immense. It looked absolutely flames on Jorge Soler. It really suited Soler as well. So, let's hope we see tons of the home run chain, mate. And I absolutely love that story. It's and I could completely see that too, right? Where you're rolling around FanFest, you got the chain on, and the guys would be intrigued about it. And actually, I could completely see how Peyton Burdick would be drawn into that because he's a chain guy anyway, right? He likes jewelry, and he likes that kind of vibe. So that doesn't shock me at all. So what I would say is I can't wait to see it, draped around Jazz's neck, for example, because Jazz is already wearing nigh on 10 chains. So let's get another one on there for sure.
I can't wait till we're seeing that out 2, 3, 4 times a game when these guys get rolling.
Yeah, for sure. And just on that then, mate, listen, they won the last 2 games of the series in part because of the home run. And all of a sudden, this Marlins offense, it's completely different to last year where they're actually relying on the home run. Avisel Garcia in game 2 of the series, and then multi-homers from Jorge Soler, mate. Huge to get these guys going offensively and with the long ball too, right?
The big guys have to hit. We said it on our last recording together. The former manager said it last year. My big guys have to go. Yeah. If the big guys go, we're going to score runs. Last year, whatever. We're not there anymore. Let's discuss this year. This year, Luis Ariz is getting on base. You saw Jazz before he got out injured yesterday. He got on base. That was great. Batting leadoff, first swing of the game. He been on a minor slump, I want to say, and he got out of it quick. The guys are hitting. Even in that loss, that bad loss in the first game of the Twins series, we had 12 hits, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
this team is not your. I know social media, you love to pick on them because you're used to it, but this is not your 2022 team that
No.
you're 3 to 4 hits a game. These guys are hitting the ball. Now they just have to do it when others are on base and they're in scoring position. And you saw yesterday that happened twice for Soler, or once. I think the first was a solo, and then the other one was a three-run bomb.
3-run.
And you had DLC driving a run before that. That's lost in everything. DLC came through, who ended up replacing Jazz. So, these guys can hit. And as long as they do, we're going to be in every game as long as that pitching. And you mentioned who I'm pitching before. I'm excited for Trevor Rogers. I think he's going to have a great game in New York, a bounce-back game. So we could easily take 2 of 3 against the Mets, who are struggling. They struggled down here. Their batting averages were not that high down here. They may have beat us 3 out of 4, but that's because we hurt ourselves. We could have easily won 3 of 4 here. We can do 2 of 3 there. They got the extra day off. Jazz plays tomorrow. We'll see. It can be very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to you more about Jazz, actually, after this. We've got both the injury news to dig into. I also wanted to just briefly touch on the fact that he's been hitting cleanup, but also then he slides up to the leadoff spot. Next thing is, lo and behold, leadoff hit, goes to steal a base. Let's talk about that after. But, guys, it's our final ad of the day, and it's another new one. Yes, sir. The Locked On Network are absolutely piling in with new partners, which is great to see. And I've seen this one around, actually. This one has been very intriguing. I've seen Aram Layden, the former host and GOAT of Locked On Marlins, talking about this a lot as well. And it's the guys over at So Rare. So if you've been seeing Aram talking about this, then you'll know what it is. But it's a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 Major League Baseball teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Epic rewards. Wow. Big claim. Win or lose, you still own your cards and there's no cost to play. It's free. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next level competitions and rewards. Yes, sir. So Rare. The MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of the managers, they also who rank at the top or near top of their leaderboards will win a variety of awards, scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandising, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. So where do you go to get involved? You head to sorare.com/lockedon. For those that are listening and thinking, how the hell do you spell that? So Rare is spelled SORARE.com. SoRare.com. See? To draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today. To win epic rewards, again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Glorious. Love that one. Love that one. Let's talk about Jazz then, mate. Firstly, the good news. The fact that, well, the good news in some ways was he was in the leadoff spot and then went for his first stolen base attempt of the year. However, got hurt on that, exits the game. And then the really good news came that it looks like it was a day-to-day, a stinger, which to me is like a dead arm. I think is probably the best way of describing it, mate. So overall, like, huge news for the Marlins, mate. The fact that this isn't a long-term and serious issue for Jazz, right?
If this was football, he would have been back in 10 minutes later. But it's baseball, where a little chip or anything, you're out for at least a game. It was scary. As a fan, you were watching. I was watching.
Yeah.
You never want to see your biggest name, your star of your team go down. But I thought, he's not injured as rough as we thought. I thought he had a separated shoulder the way he was holding it. You saw him walk off limp,
it looked bad. It did.
That usually shows a separated shoulder, but if it's just a stinger, great. He could be back in a couple games. But I don't want him rushed back either. It's too early to rush him back. You saw what happened last year. He hurt his knee, I think it was sometime in June. They put him, that was a Saturday night. He was back out there Sunday morning. He lasted one inning because he overdid it. And then he never came back the whole season. So that's for the staff.
Yeah, listen, with Jazz, like what we've seen with him, like on social media directly, he's out there, like he wants to prove the doubters wrong. He wants to prove that he can be out there as an everyday player and be counted on to be an everyday player. And I'm with you on that. Sometimes you need to almost protect Jazz and, that kind of mentality from themselves. So I think you're right on that point. Like the medical staff need to kind of, whatever Jazz is saying and what he's saying to Skip immediately, Skip said he texted him and said, "I'm good to go tomorrow, Skip," which I love to hear, by the way. But, it's making sure the medical guys are on top of that because he's out there wanting to prove everyone wrong right now at this point. And you have to protect him from just making sure he doesn't push it too far. But, this day off, there wasn't supposed to be a day off because it's the Mets home opener, but the weather was forecast. I don't think the weather's actually come in. So they've actually got the forecast wrong, I think. And they could have played today, but the game slides backwards and will be tomorrow instead. Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing though, right?
No, it's great for Jazz. And you hope he comes back fully healthy and starts continuing his hit streak because he did get a hit.
For sure.
I don't think he should come back to bat cleanup, to be honest. If we want to discuss that for a minute, I think that's the wrong spot for him.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't maybe in the future, but right now he needs to be at the top of your order. Even have Jazz at leadoff, put Luis Ariz at fourth. He's your hitting machine, man. That guy does not stop hitting. And he can bring Jazz in, but Jazz should be out of the 4-hole. Soler maybe has earned the 4-hole. After yesterday's game. So
I mean, Soler can hit wherever he wants to hit at this moment. I've got no problem with that. I mean, I'm going to be really intrigued to see how they kind of this lineup evolves because there's been a few moving parts already, but what we've seen is Arias has been right at the top. And what we've then realized is his skills of bringing runners in actually could be more valuable slightly further down. Soler's looking lively, which is great. Jazz's profile is of a leadoff hitter in some ways with the speed particularly. So, and the first time he's leading off, gets a hit straight away, stealing a base. Okay, it was unsuccessful. He was caught stealing. It was the biggest jump I've ever seen. It was wild.
There's no shame in being the leadoff guy. That's the thing. Like Ronald Acuna Jr., probably one of the best hitters on the Braves. I hate to say it because I hate his crybaby antics, but that gets him on base when he gets hit or gets a hit. So
yeah. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with Jazz being in that spot. And I think the profile is great. We'll wait to see. I think it's really interesting to see what they do with Soler and they do with Coop. I think Coop, does fit in that kind of 2-3 hole, like, just in above the cleanup spot, looking for that gap contact or whatever. But I'm intrigued to see what they do with Arias. I'm intrigued to see what they do with Jazz. Soler at one point was hitting in the 5 spot, then has now moved up to the 2 spot. So, the order is in flux. Just talk to me briefly about Gene Segura, mate. Just your and kind of Mean Gene at third base. It's fair to say there's been a lot of buzz on Twitter because Brian Anderson, the sex god, is going absolutely bananas for the Milwaukee Brewers right now. But what have you seen from Mean Gene? Any regrets on moving on from Brian Anderson?
Zero regrets for moving on from Brian Anderson. This is not Brian Anderson, who was on this team the last 2 years. And do you think he'll be in slugging percentages in the 5s in a couple of months? No, he's going to be shelved on the injured list because that's who Brian Anderson is. His last year of hitting 20 home runs was 2019. Every year since he has regressed, I should say. Every year he was going to be paid in arbitration $5.2 million. Instead, he was not offered a contract by anybody that we know of but the Milwaukee Brewers for cheap for 1 year, $3.5 million, because that's his worth to the league. He's outplaying that right now, but we're 6 freaking games in to the season. He hasn't changed. We know who Brian Anderson is. He will be injured. Bookmark this, screenshot it. Brian Anderson is not a great player at third base, and Gene Segura will finish the season with a higher average than him.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Absolutely bringing it. Poor BA. I mean, he may finish up with a higher average than Mean Gene. I guess it just depends how quickly he lands on the IL. I guess that's the question at this point.
Dude, yeah, if he lands on the IL, that takes it away. But, Brian Anderson trashed our team when he left. Why didn't he play this damn hard for us? Maybe he would have earned that money. I am not happy with BA, sex god or not.
Absolutely. Isaac Azut is remaining as a huge Brian Anderson stan. There's a few out there, I'd say, because, listen, Brian Anderson was a big part of the early part of the rebuild and was one of the main green shoots of guys that we thought, actually, there's some talent there. It just tailed off, and it was like a change of scenery. It was time for BA to have a change of scenery for sure. And so,
it's like Miggy. It was time,
It was time.
Lewis Brinson, we love him. It was time. It's a business beyond the fandom. It's a business. Business said it was time for both of them to move on.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so we're a week in. We're just about to head into a Tuesday. The Mets, Phils are on deck. Just give me a sense, like, how you feeling about the Marlins now after 1 week of play, heading into this road series. Like, is there anything really shocked you, or anything that you're concerned about or really excited about that maybe you didn't think you would be?
They're right where we thought they'd be as far as record. They're going to be hovering. Yeah. We hope they're hovering around 500 all year, if not better. But one game out, I mean, you had a slow start. It was the same start as last year, 1-4. Mm-hmm. Then we went on a win streak, and I think we got over 500, and we held it for over a month. But the makeup of this team is good. They're coming together. I want to see the closer coming out more often with us with a lead. That needs to happen. The bats are coming through. Abisail Garcia went on his slow start, but he hit a monster bomb the other day, won the game for us. Mm-hmm. Sandy. I think the scariest parts of this team are on the injured list right now with Cueto and Joey Wendell. Joey Wendell came out crap, man. And I hate to say that about anybody. Dude did not get a hit in the first 5 games, I think it was, before his injury. And he played like that during spring. Maybe something's wrong, but I hope he finds it, because we need him. He's a big part of their master plan. We need him to go, or get Jacob Amaya to start going at shortstop in the minors or AAA, and then bring him up. That's the biggest surprise, I think, was Wendell. Cueto, he came out of the WBC injured. We hoped it wasn't anything. It is something, but I think we have enough starting pitching. We're right where we thought we were. I think they could. I have them getting 1 win. Let's be real. 1 win in New York. I see them possibly winning 2. It all depends on the pitching, but Philly gets the best pitchers. So Philly, we're going to win 2 of 3. If on any road trip like this in your division, you could go 500, I think that's a good spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more point to that. After this weekend, we'll have played the Mets 7 times out of 13. In the next 140-plus games, we only have them 6 more times. It's crazy. And I'd rather get the losses out of the way early in the season, because, it's the end of the season. You got to go on your hot streaks. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, the schedule for the Fish was definitely looking tough. I mean, the Twins look tough. The Mets tough. Phil's, on paper, tough. It's the reality is you're playing your division a ton in the early parts of the year, and thus it's a brutal division. Like, it is what it is. So the Marlins, they just need to tread water for now. 500 ball, stay healthy, get into the latter parts of April into May, start to relax and breathe into the year, and see where they're at. That's what it's about. I'm very intrigued at the point you make about Wendell. I'm very intrigued about shortstop more generally with the Fish. Like, Wendell with the expiring deal, we've always known this position is in flux right now anyway. We know Jazz Chisholm wants to play shortstop. Are the Marlins going to let him? Or is it one of the 5 guys that are sat there in AAA effectively that could or want to play shortstop? It's one of the big themes that's running as an undercurrent for this season. What does the future at shortstop look like for the Marlins? We don't have time to dig into it, mate, but it's something for us to watch throughout this year into the offseason. I think it could even drag into that kind of territory. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen, guys. We are way long on this one, but I blame the 3 ads. And when I say blame, they were 3 stunning ads. A lot of new advertisers here on Locked On. Great to see the sales guys doing their thing. Love to see it. Guys, I'll be back, of course, tomorrow on Friday. And it's a crossover episode, actually. So I'm hooking up with Sully, who hosts the Locked On MLB show. So look forward to that one, guys. There's some conversation around currency. There's some conversation around the Royals and some Marlins sprinkled in there as well, guys. But thanks so much as well to Chase, the Loud Marlins fan, of course, for joining us on this show and giving us the lowdown and the details on the home run chain. Be back tomorrow, guys, and see you then.